Tom Callahan, C-A-L-L-A-H-A-N. All right. Members of the council, I'm Tom Callahan. I am currently a planning board member. Before serving on the planning board, I was on the zoning board for 2 years. I'm speaking to you tonight, I guess in a split way. One is I simply want to take a minute as a planning board member and say the following, that with respect to both the comments that Mr. Brady made tonight and the comments that Mr. Doherty made tonight, I sat through all of the hearings. I'm sure many of you have taken the opportunity to review those hearings. Both solicitors were asked several times over the course of our deliberations, is there anything here that is not compliant with state law? The answer came back, no. Is there anything here in terms of what are our obligations with respect to getting back to the council with respect to what can we do? Is it up or down? Can we only go up or down? Can we provide recommendations? What could it be? The answer came back, it can only go up and down. So I mean, if there's any question about that, I encourage you to take the time, not that you haven't used it, review the tape. Please do, because it's important to get that issue off the table. Now, what I'm here, not as a planning board member to talk to you about, but on this subject, it's been raised tangentially tonight, but it really goes to the heart of the matter of the issues that you're considering is the University of Rhode Island. I worked at the University of Connecticut in stores for 22 years. For 15 of those years, I was the university's point person on managing town-gown relationships with the town of Mansfield. The town of Mansfield is not unlike Narragansett in terms of the impact of off-campus student rentals with respect to destabilizing neighborhoods, the impact on lifestyle differences with the residents. And I spent a good deal of time working with the mayor, the council, the town manager, state legislators from that district who, at a couple points in time, one was the president of the Senate and one was the House Majority Leader. So these are issues I know a little something, I have a little experience about with, and how it relates. There's an affordability issue in Narragansett, a housing affordability issue, and there is the affordable housing issue. And you can solve, I think, both by making some progress with the University of Rhode Island. If I told you that Narragansett has a median house value right now is $665,000, that the annual median household income here was just under $100,000 at $95,000, and yet the poverty rate in Narragansett is 18.2%. Okay, it's 18.2. Now, why is that? You know why it is? Because the census is taken in April every year, every 10 years, and there are, if you read the Crane report, somewhere between 6,000 to 8,000 University of Rhode Island students living in Narragansett. There's no other explanation for why that could be. And so when people talk about Narragansett's efforts to deal with affordable housing, one of the arguments going back to the state is we can do affordable housing for families in Narragansett, or we can do affordable housing for students, because that's what we've been doing. But we may not be able to do both without some help from you. So what I would suggest is that as part of your thought process, it may or may not be related to these ordinances as you think, but as a council, as you move forward, you ought to be thinking about a 10-year plan. You may not be here for that full year. You may not be here for full 10 years. But what the town of Narragansett needs, whether it's you or somebody else sitting in your chairs, is a 10-year plan. And that 10-year plan should be to get 2,000 to 3,000 additional beds of undergraduate student housing built on the campus of the University of Rhode Island. Now, Harry was up here a little earlier tonight. He said, I've come to the conclusion that if the university wanted to build those units, build those beds, they'd already be built. I come at this from a little different point of view, having had the experience that I've had. Nobody does something hard unless they're pressed and unless there's friction associated with it. So I would remind you that you have the following leverage points with the University of Rhode Island. And I have no idea what you all may be doing in the background. I did have the opportunity to see President Pelage's presentation to you in January. I have to say that it was feel good, but not substantive. And I don't know what substantive conversations you may be having in the background, but assuming there are not any going on, or that they're fairly light, I would suggest the following. You are, as representing the town of Narragansett, the host community for the University of Rhode Island's Bay Campus. I repeat again, you are the host community for the University of Rhode Island's Bay Campus. That is not an insignificant leverage point. The University of Rhode Island touts the Bay Campus as basically being the keystone for its so-called blue economy efforts. And there is leverage in terms of saying, okay, boys and girls, with respect to this thing, this is what we need to do with respect to the Bay Campus. There is a sewage treatment plant that you know of on Westmoreland Street. That sewage from the main campus in Kingston and the Bay Campus in North Narragansett all ends up in Westmoreland. Talk to the town engineers about how it works. Now, the irony here is you are in the position of having maxed out your allocation of sewage treatment at that plant. And you have to go to the University of Rhode Island and lease some of their unused capacity for an amount of money. I have no idea, Jim, but I'm sure if there is money involved, you can tell them what it is. So here's the irony. We are hosting 6,000 to 8,000 University of Rhode Island students in Narragansett. Some number of those, I'll just for grins, I haven't done the analysis, but just say half of them live in the catchment area for the Westmoreland plant. We have to go back to the University of Rhode Island to lease their space in order to meet their needs because we're tapped out right now. It doesn't make any sense. If you look at the issue of, the University of Rhode Island right now is engaged in a physical master planning effort at the Kingston campus and at the Bay campus. If you're not plugged into that, you should be, and you should be plugged in a meaningful way. That is something we did as a routine basis at the University of Connecticut in Mansfield, and that's something that you should be, because while you, to Harry's point, while you may not have control of the situation, the question is, you have influence, and are you exercising your ability to influence the outcome here? So, the master plan, if you look at the work that's been done on the master plan to date, you will see that they have an interest in not only trying to build a couple of thousand beds on campus, half for graduate students, half for undergraduate students. That's not a net number because they're going to have to take a number of the older facilities offline, either permanently or for some period of time while they get renovated. So it's not a net number. But if you look at what the university, based on what they're printing in their own PowerPoint presentations on the master plan, what they're hearing from the students at the University of Rhode Island about the things that they'd like to see on campus. They'd like to see more housing on campus because A, the commute is too long. All right, that's A, the commute is too long, and B, one of the problems up at the University of Rhode Island is there's nothing to do, right? So the University of Rhode Island, as part of their master planning process, is looking to take an area up on the, what would be the northeastern quadrant of the campus beyond the area that's physically developed right now as a little shopping center there, and do some combination of a hotel, commercial, student-related housing project up there. Those types of efforts should be encouraged. We should figure out how it is that we could do something to encourage that as it goes along. The state and the University of Rhode Island both have greenhouse gas emissions reductions plans. Anything that will take care of, if there are, let's take the middle number, 7,000 students, there are 7,000 cars making some number, say making the 14-mile round trip from Narragansett to Kingston on a daily basis. Some number, well, you have to handicap that because you have the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday schedule for academic schedule. But you have an opportunity to press the state and the university on that issue as well with respect to greenhouse gas emissions. As I said, your entry points are Board of Trustees, your entry points are legislators, your entry points are senior administrators at the university. You need to break the cycle. You need to have a plan. You need to understand how those places work and what pressure they respond to. I have some thoughts about that. As we workshop issues going forward, it looks like that's going to happen. I have some thoughts about further thoughts about how you might do that. But if you leave here remembering anything that I said, and it's late, and I'm taking advantage of the fact that hopefully the best is the last, that you can't solve this issue without addressing the University of Rhode Island and having them take you seriously as the host community for the Bay campus. And basically, you host more students in Narragansett than they do on campus right now. Thank you.
Thank you.